Hi, welcome back. So in this video, I am going to be starting to color and style our website. So we're going to go through and use the selector skills that we've learned in the previous section to actually go through and start adding some color. On top of that, we're going to be using the skills we learned about hex code and RGB color codes to vary up our style or method of coloring things. Because in the past, like I've said, we've just used some basic techniques with CSS color codes, and now we're going to be working with our own custom colors. So first of all, let's go ahead and start adding some classes to this website to get it set up for our styling. So first thing I did is actually started from a clean slate because it was getting quite messy before, and I thought that it would be better if we started from scratch. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add a class, or an ID actually I think would be better, to our title since there's only one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and add an ID of title. And hopefully you know how to do this from the skills you learned in the last section. Let's also go ahead and add some classes for our paragraph text. And because of course we have more than one paragraph, we're actually going to go ahead and use a class. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to say paragraph, or I'm just going to say para to shorten it, text. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this class onto our other paragraphs instead of writing it down. There we go. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and add some classes to this list here just for convenience. So I'm going to go ahead and add a class for a list item. Now obviously we're not going to use all of these in one go, but I was just considering to add them so that when we get into it, we can actually go ahead and use them without having to go ahead and add these classes every single time. So there we go, we did that. Let's also go ahead and add a class to our link. And now we have our table items. We're gonna leave this for now because it might take a long time. We'll style this when we get later into our section. So there we go, we did that. Now the last thing I wanna do is just go ahead and add a couple classes to our inputs here. So I'm going to go ahead and add some classes. So class is form input. And this is actually quite commonplace to add or write class names and ID names with these. So with dashes instead of, snake case, which is using capital letters, things like that. It's just a convention in CSS. So let's go ahead and add the same class here. Just like that. There we go. And we're also going to go ahead and add a subtitle class to our subtitles. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we go. Let's just copy that and over to our other subtitles. And once we're done with that, we'll move on and start coloring our text. Right, there we go. So everything's looking good. That means nothing has gone wrong. Let's go ahead and start styling our text. So first thing I want to do is style our header here. So obviously you don't really want to go crazy with text colors. It's more for backgrounds. But I think we'll just experiment a little bit for this video with some of our colors. So first of all, I'm going to need to select it. This is the first part of our general rule. So because it's an ID, I'm going to go hash and then title. Open up our block with our curly braces. And now we're going to start writing our property. So if you don't know this already, the property is going to be color. This is the text of the color of the text. And I know it doesn't look like it since it doesn't say text-color. Similar to a bunch of other properties, but this is the way to color your text. So here we can go ahead and type our property, our value. Now before we've used colors like steel blue, which is a CSS color code. But now let's go ahead and challenge ourselves and start actually messing with these colors using our own color picker. So first of all, I want to choose a color that I really like. And I'm going to go for a sort of deep orange. So we don't want to go for something too dark, but we also don't want to go for something too light so that it's hard on the eyes. Now I think a color like this is good. Now how would we actually implement this? Will we just copy and paste it? And if you're thinking that that's the right way, well, then you're right. It's actually very easy. All you have to do is copy your hex or RGB code and paste it into here, just like that. Now if I go ahead and refresh the page, you can see that that color is being reflected on our title. Now I would recommend, instead of using your hex code, go ahead and add an RGB code. And I'll tell you why later in this section, but for now just think that this is better because it's a little bit more flexible and you can change it easily. So on top of that, using an RGB color code really allows you to mess around with the colors in a way that if you didn't know hex code, you wouldn't be able to. So for example, let's say I wanted to increase the amount of blue in this. All I would have to do is go ahead and just change it. Let's say I wanted to go with 150 blue. You can see that the color has completely changed by adding more blue. By doing it, we've kind of mixed around the colors and created this pinkish color. Imagine you're working with a color palette instead of a digital kind of weird color mixer. Think of you have a giant pile of red, green, and blue, and what you're doing here is changing all of the proportions to get just the color you want. So let's go ahead and change this color back to 9. There we go. Now we have our orange color there. So let's go ahead and also style up our subtitles here. And one common thing that you do with hierarchies of text, so for example titles and then subtitles and paragraph, is usually your titles or your high up on the hierarchy are going to have very dark colors, and then your subtitles or things that are lower on the hierarchy are going to have around the same color scheme, but they're going to be a little lighter. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead to my color picker and drag this up a little bit. Of course, you could do this by just increasing all of the values, but I actually prefer to use the color picker because I could really see what's going on. So I'm going to choose something a little bit lighter, maybe something around here. Again, we don't want it to be too light because then it's going to be too hard on the eyes. So I think I'm going to go with something around here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the code. Now let's go ahead and add our selector. So I'm going to go dot subtitle, because remember it's a class. Then I'm going to use my property color and paste in our RGB color code. Let's go ahead and refresh the page, and you can see that our subtitles have been colored down. So there we go. Everything is working really well for now, and we're starting to get the hang of this. Now I recommend you go ahead and try this on your own. Again, the whole point is to be styling a website as you go along. So I recommend you go ahead and mess around with your own colors. Again, you can just find this color picker by going to Google. If you don't really like it, you could always go to another color picker on search for one. But you can go ahead, choose your own colors. If you don't like orange, you can go with blue, maybe something a little colder. It's totally up to you. Just get some practice with using colors on different types of text and get some more practice using CSS on your own. All right, let's move on.